Hello, everyone. We're back with WCC, and we had another weekend that pretty much concluded Cardfight Vanguard for BSFO 2021. Yeah, and I think we did pretty well. Don't you guys agree? We've got a lot of our members here. We've got a lot of Americans this time as well. So truly a global experience. Do we want to just start off with some introductions from? I'm not sure if we're seeing the same thing, but we can start off in the top left. I think it's Cam.
Oh, well, howdy. Well,
I guess, do an introduction and say how you went and how you went over the weekend will be probably easy, right? So yeah, Cam, you start.
Well, howdy, gang. I am Big Cam. I'm the newest member to WCC. Added like a month ago. It's been a pretty wild ride so far. I did participate in all 6 of the regionals this past weekend. It was a lot of fun. About most of the time went X2 like drop around 5-6, round 5-6. For most of them, for the NA V Premium, I did place 10th. But other than that, I guess we'll pass it on to whoever's next to me.
All right, you're next.
I guess I'll play standard overdress in the past week. I got smashed by Bastion, and I got smashed by Magnus in EU and Asia. I came back in NA, did a pretty good job, but I still bubbled X2. Not playing full premium, just for various reasons, and I kind of regret it at the end. Anyway, next up to Derek.
Cool. So I participated in nearly all the events. So I came fourth in AOV Premium and then had to skip EUV Premium because it clashed with top 8 for EU Standard. And I came fourth there as well. Then NA Standard, I didn't make it. So I played NAV Premium instead, having a last chance at topping again. And then I went top 8 in NAV Premium.
All right, Noman, go.
Hey, I'm Noman from WCC with eight more of us here. I played the thing called OD. Yeah, I played OD, got smashed, wrecked. Then I played an AO for V Premium. Still getting used to that. If I'm not looking at you, it's because my webcam or phone is on a candlestick on top of a speaker, and I'm looking at my screen where Kai is at the center. So I'm talking to Kai actually. But anyway, like I was saying, I played in V, gonna cut it short. Played in NAs. No, yeah, I played in AO, got smashed too. But I played in NA, got fourth in it with. Can't even see the word, can you? But the candlestick won't go any higher, so your imagination, fill out the rest of it. But got fourth. Yeah, that was my only accomplishment that week.
I guess it's Kelvin.
So I'm Kelvin, and I joined all of the rounds for OD and V Premium. Sort of felt bad that I couldn't top in Premium the first week, so I was like, man, I really want to top Vanguard. So I played, I think, almost all rounds of OD. Got X2 on all 3 regions because of Overtrigger, mostly. And then I didn't really sleep much, but I went to play V, playing Prism. Play all 7 rounds on all regions. X2, I got 9th place in EU. And joined NA, haven't really stopped much, and got to top 8, so I was really happy about that. Actually, I think I was top of Swiss, and then I died in top 8. But yeah, pretty happy with the results. I at least got a top in Vanguard.
All right, Kevin, how about you?
All right. So I guess I started off pretty strong, because I only played 4 of the events, just NA and then AO, in standard and then V Premium, and then I started off with getting 3rd in standard, and then I went X2 in the other events, and I just dropped those because I wasn't with the effort.
All right, Solomon, I guess you're next.
I've only joined 2 of them. I got top 8 in standard. That's a new one. With Bastion. And then I joined V Premium NA, where I went 4-2 drop to a beautiful 3-2 pass crit. That was an experience. So yeah, a top 8 and a 4-2 drop.
And lastly, got Toby. How'd you go, Toby?
So I played in all 3 regions for Overdress. During that time, I feel like I should have been a purist and stayed with the Sanctuary, but I decided with Magnolia. Was doing pretty well, but the Overtriggers got the best of me there, and managed to only get some X2, so couldn't top with that format, unfortunately. Had better news with V Premium. I played Genesis like I did the first weekend, so I'm a bit of a one-trick at the moment. Get second place in the AO region. Pretty wiped out, so I didn't play in the EU, but then I managed to get top 8 again in NA, so pretty successful there.
Okay. So yeah, it's sounds like we overall did pretty well. I think we had a crazy V run on NA on the last day. What do you guys think of that? Do you think V is something we can like invest a bit more time in, or it's something that's like still kind of like it's a kind of nice format, but not something that's like crazy competitive? Or what do you guys think? Anyone want to start?
I'll shoot it. Why not?
Oh, let Cam start.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I stated earlier that I placed 10th. I think the NA Re-Premium for me was probably the most fun tournament I had for the weekend. I think why I would invest more time into V is the sheer fact that out of the 2 formats played over the weekend, there isn't something that I would say towards Overdress that I would I'd put positively personally. But going to V Premium, I think it felt like every single game it felt like I could do something. And even if it wasn't like a very good answer, going against the Hamiel mashup and everything like that, there still was an answer, is how I would put it. But going along with that, everything felt like there was at no point in time I felt terrified of a single flip of a card. It was more or less I just felt confident no matter what the situation was, and if I lost, I lost, and if I won, I won. It felt like a even Stevens game throughout all the way through.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, just to add to that, there are games where there's 3-2 pass or your opponent heal on 6, maybe twice. Those games do happen, but the frequency of it is small enough for you to be okay, that's an exception. It's fine to lose that game. Whereas I think in Overdress, it's just always at the back of your mind that against any deck that could happen, and you lose a game that you sort of try to win with so much effort. I think that's the heartbreak moments.
Okay. So any other thoughts on V versus I guess standard at the moment? Yeah, Noman, you can go.
No Overtrigger. That's all I gotta say. Playing. I like OD. I like where it's going. Yeah, we'll pass it off to you. Where I'm pixelated Minecraft mode, but I like OD. I like where it's going. But just playing in V and knowing there's no fear of an Overtrigger to randomly fan art me to death was pretty cool. That was nice. Yeah, no 15, or as they would say.
Okay, we're
Just want to add on what Nolan said. No Overtrigger is it's actually one of the format biggest advantage, I would say. I don't know if any of you guys or any of the viewers at home has these kind of experience as well when they play Overdress, but the amount of 6 damage OT and heals in Overdress at the moment, or in Premium, is just Like it's just mind-boggling, like the ratio actually like went up quite a bit. I think Solemn said it went up for like 20%, was it Solemn? Like the chance of you like getting a defensive OT.
I mean,
Something
no,
like that.
it's just that like healing at 6 goes up 20% because you have a 5th heal.
Have
It's not-
another 5th heal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a super-
It makes like V premium as much as I hate to say it, because I dislike V like with all my passion. But V without OT might be like one of the more balanced format in this current meta. But then again, we have to see what's the next the next whatever collection coming out after this is going to provide with the new heals as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd like to be a contrarian. I don't think you can excuse the issues in V just because it doesn't have a dog shit mechanic like Overtrigger. Like, there's still a lot of issues, I feel. Like, everything is still very linear. And while I enjoy certain of the tier 2 decks, I don't see why you'd play them over something like Prism, which literally does the same thing over and over and over. Same for the Valk deck. Same for the Gabriel deck. So like, while I agree it's fun to not have an Overtrigger, I disagree with like praising the format for it just because of that. But yeah, I still hate Overtriggers, obviously.
I think like the fact that the NAP premium format was the only tournament where we have like more than, I guess, like 4%. We have like 5 tops in top 8, and the next one we have like 2 tops, right, in top 8. And that's sort of like, in my opinion, that sort of like speaks volume as well, because it means that the skill actually matters quite a bit.
But don't forget that in NA, we had way more people join than in Premium. Like Cam, Noman, I think Cho didn't join all of them. Like, we had significantly more people all in the venue at once for V Premium than we had for Premium. So I think that if you put the same amount of WCC players, and again, it's also like one event, so it's like skewing that as well. I feel like if you played 100 BCSs in a row of Premium and V Premium with the same amount of WCC players, it would like balance itself out.
I guess
I'm
I
not
do.
sure about standard, but
Yeah,
sure,
not standard.
premium.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about standard, like to be honest.
All right.
Yeah.
And a
Oh.
total coin flip.
Anyway,
So we'll give
Yeah.
it to Derek because he actually raised his
Okay.
hand. All right. Yes.
I think one point to add also, obviously, overtriggers are a pretty game warping thing, but then also if you look at the premium metagame at the moment, that is also warping. Like there are just so many decks where you just go first, loop and win, or like Blade Master, go first, grade 3 and win. And it kind of puts into perspective that there are 2 game warping formats versus one where you can actually control essentially what your opponent's doing. And I think that kind of separates the distinguished formats as to what people would prefer. Because I remember after the EU standard tournament for me, when I lost in the 3rd and 4th place match, I got a message from Nuno, the current back-to-back standard world champion. He messaged me because it was pretty heartbreaking for me. But he said that, your last opportunity is in V Premium, and at least now there's no overtriggers and you can actually control what you're doing. And I had to think back and just kind of reflect on that. And I guess it is true. Like, you can't control what's in Premium at the moment other than releasing a ban list. And then you can't control an overtrigger either. So V Premium, like, there is still decks like Gabriel, there are still decks like Overlord that, just randomly crit and, 3 to pass crit. But at least you can control most of the gameplay, whereas in other formats you can't.
Yeah, I think it's more personally myself is that a lot of the opinions on sitting on overdress that people say are just the witch hunt out, ban overtriggers, which makes sense. Like obviously from the weekend experience you've seen and how massively it swings games and impacts things. You can just turn from winning a game just to straight losing a game in one instance. But on the flip side of that as well, just look at the rectification of that. Say Overtrigger's removed from competitive play. We're still just looking at a set one of a new format basically, and so because of that, there's like not much support for all the nations based at the moment, and so it's pretty cut and dry, pretty clear about which decks are sitting on the top of the precipice of the strongest, and it's very similar in the sort of playstyles that sort of over the years in Vanguard, like your Bastions and your Bruces are they're multi-attack decks, and the fact that they're multi-attack decks that require the least amount of resources to commit compared to something like Magnolia, who can have more attacks but requires so much more to commit, which is why Bastion and Bruce are considered up at the top and have the highest tops over the weekend. It's just so strong, and it's constantly just feeling that too, just looking at all the formats, and especially in Standard and V Premium, the most strongest and popular decks are either the strong multi-attack decks or the unguardable decks. It's either you're doing more than 3 attacks or those 3 attacks are actually going to kill your opponent there and then, basically. And looking at a format compared to Premium as well, with Premium, at least you have the sort of diversity with the Stride Zone that can give you, where you at least have so many different options starting from the beginning of your turn, whereas with Standard and Premium, your game plan is pretty linear from the get-go. You're always going to set out to do the same thing, a simple attack pattern. You see what the Vanguard currently is and you expect how that turn's going to go. But obviously saying with the G-Zone, there are so many different possibilities. Obviously there is more optimal choices than others, but it's the fact that you have that utility and usefulness to be able to adapt to any situation is something that's always been appealing to me as a format. So there's always you can look at the negatives and the positives from either side, and just talking about looking at V Premium Standard at the moment, I feel like that where things are just a bit linear in that retrospect, and with Standard it's set one, things will change and hopefully for the better, but with V Premium I think that the collections that are coming up really needs to shake things up on the top level specifically, to make sure that things can change in a sort of a massive way. Otherwise, people just don't see the appeal of getting set 6 months in advance and the format not changing at all. Consider investing yourself competitively if nothing changes and you're just doing the exact same thing for a year. For me, that just doesn't sound appealing at all.
All right, so Kevin, you're one of the few people that top Standard over the weekend. What do you think of Standard currently?
Currently, it's because of Overtriggers and because it's in its first set, it's of course a lot less skill based than Premium or Premium, right? In the beginning, right, everything is super simple. There's not a lot of lines of play, so of course it's not going to reward very skill based moves. And Overtriggers is the cherry on top. It's just gonna make everything a lot worse. So Standards, it's just really basic right now. It's basically Limit Break 4 era level of competency required. So I think, but as the game progresses and there's more lines of play, they'll be more defined and it'll get a little bit more skill based. But based on my experience, Overtriggers are as powerful as expected. They're as game swinging and as okay. They really do determine top 8 sometimes.
Okay, all right. So, but I think are we in agreement that Standard looking forward into the future looks like there's some potential there. Premium, as long as we get some bans, probably it'll kind of make the format much more open, and then Vmium, with the next clan collection, it looks pretty good, and then we'll see how it progresses from there. Is that kind of the vibe for there, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about just with overdresses and the printing as well. Just there's really been great sort of card design coming out from the new production team, how things are shaping for the future and future-proofing things, and how sets are sort of built and designed to impact and build up from mechanics and different sets. seems like it's going to scale really well. And even just looking at some of the previews into set 2, it just looks really good. This is obviously besides the things with like obviously the over trigger influence, and personally I feel like some of the reliance in some decks on persona writing, I feel like that's a bit iffy, that you need to shape and see your specific grade 3 to actually make your deck function is a bit of an iffy stretch for me. But other than that though, just like in terms of the wide field of like card design, it's been really, really good to see that it's going in a good direction. It's pretty much the nightmare that was ended V, where things are like it's massively power creeping again and again and changing and shifting and just getting worse and worse for the other decks that weren't getting support that time around.
All right, Solon, what about you? You raise your hand.
I'd like to add to Toby's point because I think it's very important. I top 8'd without ever seeing an over trigger, but I mostly put that in the power of going first and the power of persona writing. Because like the difference in what a deck does with or without a persona ride, and thus if you go first you have a quicker persona ride, is absolutely gigantic. And I feel it's not being talked about enough because over triggers are even more of a problem. So like I think that will be fixed gradually as we get more sets and so forth. So I'm not doom talking about standard, but more so I think it's still important to not forget, because a lot of people are like, oh, ban over triggers and then set 1 format is going to be perfect, and it's like not even close either. Like Toby said, essentially like persona writing is extremely powerful.
Norman, what about you?
I was just raising my hand in hopes to like cuck Solemn out of this hand raise.
All right, Kelvin, did you want to say something?
Yes, so I guess that's like one thing that has been sort of an oversight because there hasn't been too many tournaments seen. But again, it's that strength of going first, especially in V. I think there was one time that Bouchard sort of held back with the card design and put more restrictions behind, like, oh, if you open on grade 3, then you get the full effect. Otherwise, you only get like half of it, which I think was super brilliant. That brings up that, the old G era when Seabreeze was first started, that the grade 2 game, you actually have to fight for your big advantage turn. And it feels like recently from like, Luard and Prism included. Prism is like, yeah, you do lose a bit of the effect, but not really. A lot of these decks just like, go first, destroy your opponent on grade 2, make them go to 4, and then you tank the next turn, and bam, next turn you win. And I'm seeing that pattern again in D, which is a bit concerning, and hopefully this is something that they address in the future, that you can't just, wreck your game. Sure, you have like a right deck, you can't get grade suck anymore, but that also means everyone's games will be so consistent. You'll always write the right grade 3, and you'll just steamroll them if you go first, and that hopefully that they do something about it. In the topic of over trigger, that's also something that sort of a big shock to me during the tournament. It feels like the card design was made around the sort of like this is the one hope trigger in your deck that might save you the game, but instead it just instills fear that, hey, your opponent has an over trigger that can ruin you the game. And that's where I think that detrimental effect, just the fear factor alone, sort of makes you uncomfortable in some games. And when your opponent guards with an over trigger, you're just like, all right, fine, this game is like pretty safe, which is, I don't think it was meant to be that way.
Yeah. Why don't you just play around it?
That's right. That's right.
Just PG everything. Come on, you got like 4 of them, right?
Exactly. Like PG everything.
4 PGs. Ooh.
Like, that when you got 4-2, your opponent gets the 2-2, gets a over trigger. That's like one of the worst feeling. Because like just flip the deck. They don't even have to make an active decision in it.
Yeah, that's true. Onto like another topic, I guess. I
just want to go on last details. That's something we haven't talked about yet. And I think it's a pretty important and a big thing. Is the grade 3 heal triggers in the V collection, and how that would actually look shaping ahead for V Premium in itself as a format. And a slight topic as well, like looking at Premium. I'll just go over Premium real first. Like the defensive design and the implication that it has is really, really amazing, and I like that aspect. All but the fact of like the ability to give yourself 1 damage to absolutely nothing in Premium. That's a bit of a scary implication for like so many different opportunities in that deck, because basically, at least with the no access way to be able to start getting yourself damage is like activating GB with your Bobos and things, and like OM is a thing in itself too. But at least you had a tie wall behind those things. But you just like have a mandatory 4 off your trigger in pretty much all decks now because they're so amazing. To get yourself a free damage is like I don't know how to feel about it, and like without having testing anything yet. This is just sort of an opinion based thing, but yeah, it can be a bit scary. But looking at V Premium though, and like a big thing in like V Premium as well, like obviously going first was just amazing because force markers are broken, like markers in general are broken, sorry. And like having the access for the tool to help mitigate that slightly, and like the defensive effects, like giving yourself +10 for a turn against like Axel decks, or like so many of the crazy multi-attack decks, or even like, you know, something that might be trying to one-shot you like a Hamiel could have the really, really great defensive implication to actually give you a chance to play the game, you know, going into some of those really tough, like top-tier decks. But I also hope the support around those sets as well, besides those Heals Guardians, will actually make an impact of the meta and shake things up in the top tier and bump those things down and change things up as well.
Okay, it's true. It's true. The V stuff.
Do you feel, Toby? Do you feel like if they destroy the big 6 though, that maybe the Heal Guardian damage adding is no longer as big of a deal? Because I feel like the damage that most decks give themselves don't lead to like ridiculous kills. There's probably like one deck or something that can do something cool with it, but like they can always hit that, right? Overall, I think it's like a net massive positive for both formats.
Of course, that's like with that opinion in mind, obviously, as well. Like the decks that can't abuse the fact that it just pops off with the 1 damage. Obviously, if they get muted on a ban list, then things will obviously be a lot healthier. This is just in the context of how formats exist at the current moment without knowing exactly what's happening in the future.
Yeah. So I think the problem there is, again, it's not about you know, cards that self-damage you wins games, like Bobo is broken. No, it's not that. It's the decks that can 1-2-6 with like 1 or 0 CB. I think that's what really needs attention. So don't try to shift the blame to like, oh, he drew 2 Bobo in the game and won. It's like, no. Like the fact that the deck was designed so you just slap Bobos in and self-damage yourself and you win. That's the bigger problem. Those decks shouldn't be. Those decks are very toxic and they're counter-competitive, in my opinion. Because, you know, you just flip the board like that, you don't give your opponent a chance to play the game at all.
Okay. All right. What about the event itself? I mean, we went on a bit of a tangent about the formats, but what about BSFO? Like the overall event. You know, we had the first week, it was pretty good. Was that the same as the second week, or you know, some things we need to? Yeah. All right. Solomon, go.
I think EU was ran amazingly. Ian TCG and his team, like everything was just perfect. Like I literally can't say anything bad. Everything was just good. Then I joined NA, and I think I'll give the word to someone else.
So as much as I'd love to say it's, you know, the whole BSFO, but I felt like I attended Minecon. You know, we were sitting here playing Minecraft with all of our opponents. I guess before I actually like go on, like, it's not a huge rant. It's more like the player integrity and everything at that point, and just the player attitude is it feels a lot of the time when I had a problem asking them to cut their deck in a certain way, not like the whole 3 piles, but like you know, sometimes I would ask people if I got a little skeptical to put the top 5 cards of their deck to the bottom, and then I would get a sort of like backlash, and it's like, well, I'm not doing this and like to say you're cheating, I'm doing this to prevent cheating. It scares me that like people would backlash on it, like, oh, why would you make me take the top 5 cards? It's like, well, why are you arguing it so bad? Like, it's terrifying, and it's just like, you know, some person just like, why? I'm just repeating myself, but yeah, like that is my problems with the whole video tournament, because like I can't do anything if I'm not in person. Like, I can't take your deck and put the top 5 cards for you. Like, I'm asking you to do it. Like, nah, I'm good, man.
Yeah. Derek, you got something?
Cool. I just wanted to add on top of Solemn as well, Ian TCG, Jimmy, you guys did an amazing job. Like, I think my opinion on the first weekend kind of shifted, probably because I didn't play EU as much as I did in the second week, and it is clearly defined that EU was so well run. The Discord bot, like a lot of us have said in the previous week as well as this week, is insane. It just made everything a lot easier. And if there are any like disputes, it was like done in a really good manner. Everyone was really, welcoming. I even spoke to a lot of the judges, and I don't remember who I talked to, but at that point when I lost in the third and fourth place match, a lot of the judges jumped from the streaming table over after they heard the news, and they congratulated me. And that in respect, like, I gotta give respect to that, and just everyone who I played against with and all that stuff. BSFO is definitely one of the best events I've had in a long time, and it's the only event in a long time. So I really hope this is an addition to any of the tournament circuits in the future.
Anyone else want to add that?
Yeah, just to say that experiences were pretty positive. Like for the difficulties and the restraints that you obviously have to work with the camera, and so many sort of rough things that can come up, that things did happen, that things were adjusted in a pretty timely manner for the most part in like most regions. So one thing I'd like to say is like you kind of just wish things have a bit more consistency across the regions in terms of how they decide to operate and sort of manage things. I know that obviously it's a bit hard because it's it's not directly by Bushiroad, it's sort of being outsourced into different regions, different parties obviously hosting things. But just from personal experience, you just saw like sort of different takes on some of the more Bushiroad rules and things, and like just that was a bit of a shell shock going in between different regions. But obviously that's just a case of just having different teams not being able to properly communicate the same thing to each other. So things are obviously going to be different. And also the fact that that it was on mainly volunteers coming forward in terms of judging staff, being helped run those events, and those guys sacrificing times out of their weekends, their days to help run events. As a player, just obviously very appreciative of that they're able to help host some of these events and give these opportunities. So I think it's just in terms of just having more time to focus and adapt on building the tournament and making sure it's fully structured, because I know just talking to some of the judges and things, it was a bit last minute for some of them and it's a bit hard to prepare, and especially being each in their own individual location, not being able to meet up properly, everything through a webcam. It does make things obviously a difficult measure in that regard. But overall, in terms of the whole tournament sphere, I feel like for how difficult things were, that overall was a pretty successful event.
And Norman, did you have something?
Yeah, so pretty much the entire tournament was like pretty enjoyable. Like to sum it all up, the only issue I've had, which is like not that big of an issue, was like quality control for cameras. That's really about it. Like all my games that I played, I didn't really run into like any like rude opponents. Everyone I was like, if you could, cut like 2, 3, 1, and then I probably look insane because my hand's not on camera. Okay, I'll have to reach it up high. Just ignore the hands. So I'd be like, take top 5, put it at the bottom. They'd be like, yeah, sure. Can you do the same? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like opponents, no problem. It's just quality control for the camera should be a little more enforced, because like my opponent called like Minecraft dirt block to the back row, and I have no idea what that card does or what it is, if it's even a card. But besides that, like that's really it. The remote fight thing was really enjoyable. It's cool, like just being in my room, playing. Real life missing though, but like just being able to play in my room and get the same regional experience aside from like IRL with the homies. But it was pretty good. Like it's really the only complaint I have is just enforce the quality control a little bit. That's about it.
Yeah, and just like on that example, like that's just one of the points I would include as well, is about how different regions, like I saw some were more on that than others. That's one example. Like it was pretty ridiculous how in one region, like it was sort of let pass, even with judges consistently watching a game, where a lot of this quality control was happening. In other regions, they were pretty ham-fisted on it to say, look, we need to try and adapt and fix things up. Otherwise, you know, they're going to have to do something about it. So, yeah.
Kelvin, you had a hand up just then?
Yeah, again with the how the tournaments end run and the standards across the different regions. I played on quite a bit of rounds. Oh, did Virab just... Oh, it's happened again.
Oh, this one.
That happened last time.
Oh, no, I'm at the top, bro. Now let's go.
Yeah, this is the kind of consistency that we're sort of worried of. But basically, I think I set to quite a bit of rounds on both weekends. Wise, Premium, OD, and V. I usually just play through all the way till the end of Swiss, and I've met a lot of different kinds of like people with different kind of setup at their home, and of course we see efforts from Bushred that, you know, this is the sort of like setups that you could achieve with simple equipments, and I think it's really great that they put that effort and people can like have some guidance on how this can be achieved. But you know, you really gotta appreciate what Bushred does to make this event happen. And we say like, oh, I sat through like 30 hours last weekend playing card games in front on this chair, and you'll think I'm insane. But those guys behind the scenes spent way more time than us prepping it, running the whole thing, and having to deal with 100-something odd people, you know, who speaks like all sort of different languages as well. You know, you gotta appreciate these people. And as a player, as the participant, the best thing that you can do is like, you know, make sure that your setup is good. Make sure you don't make their life like harder than it should be, because we're all here to have a good time. Like, we're here to play card games, just play with friends, play with new people. But you know, don't do things that makes life harder for other people. That's all I want to say. You know, we're here to have fun. We're here to play competitive card game, not to, you know, make others' life miserable.
Hey, Kevin, what about you? You connected from America to AO to beat us. How was the overall remote fight experience?
For what specifically, that event?
Just overall.
Oh, okay. It was good. It was good. This was my first ever like this, and last weekend was my first ever remote fight event, and or remote fight events that I've ever tried to do, and it was pretty cool. You know, like the only thing, like obviously it's impossible to simulate the real thing because it's really lonely by yourself during all the tournaments. So you have to chill in the Discord call with your homies after events. But yeah, it was really nice. It was really fun, and you know, a lot of it was really good. The only thing that like I really want like to improve, and it's something, you know, future WCC content, is like how we can work on anti-cheating, like we can spread the, you know, information on like maybe you should send this, rules should state you should send this many cards to bottom, because I actually feel like the 3-deck thing is like pretty inadequate of a shuffling method, to be perfectly honest. Like in theory they could just stack 5 good cards in each of the spots, like I don't. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I feel like, you know, everything was run really well, and it was a really good experience.
Yeah, so on.
So, actually a very good point from Kevin. The 3-stack thing, I sometimes noticed people doing weird shit with it, and it also like reinforced his idea. Like, if you did a shuffle where you equalized your triggers between your non-triggers, and then do a very lazy shuffle, technically your piles are still going to be decluttered, which is like inherently just unfair. And that's literally cheating. But beyond that, sometimes people would do their shuffle and then they would place their 1, 2, 3 not in order of 1, 2, 3. And most people are gonna say 2 and then something. So they might say 2, 1, 3 or 3, 2, 1 or 3, 2, 3, 1. Yeah. Because that feels the most randomized, right? Because sometimes you're afraid that you didn't know which one was 1 or which one was 3, and so that way a lot of people say 2. Now, if you stacked specifically to have your 2 stack be good, and everyone's giving you 2-1-3 or 2-3-1, and again, you're still getting that same issue. So I agree, like the 1-2-3 piles thing isn't that great. And whenever I saw people like fucking around with their order, like they would place 1, and then the second would place at the end, and then the third in the middle, or something like that, no, like I would instantly mess around with their orders. Or I would say like, oh yeah, 2-1-3, and now do it again. Like, because you have to be paranoid, right? So I do agree with Kevin, like the 1-2-3 can be improved in some way.
Oh,
everyone's...
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that specific point to say that I know during the top cut for AOV Premium, I'm not sure if the judges had implemented this beforehand, but like they started doing a system of like making the players actually forcibly choose to mill some of the top cards of the deck and put them on the bottom, where it was player's choice in between a number of 0 to 5. So that sort of like implementation of a system was in place, so the player could still edit the deck in a way to sort of possibly mitigate the like on the off chance that the person obviously was trying to stack in a certain way, that they were still trying to put that randomness in there. And that was good, like that some of the judging staff adapted to how some of those things could play out.
What a good boy.
I hope so, man. I'm hoping he doesn't bark. It's raining outside pretty bad, so he might bark and but hey, if you can't do that, goodbye, buddy.
All right, any of you guys, the Tigre up since we went.
Yeah. So added on what Salam said before, players do not want to listen what we said about like the orders thingy. I even had some of my opponents, right? They purposely not turn on their camera, right? So when they're turned on the camera, it's already like being stacked S3. And they're like, hey, let's go, let's choose, like this 1, 2, 3. I'm like, wait, dude, like this is shady as hell, right? I mean, obviously, I'm gonna tell them to shuffle, I'm not that stupid,
Let's kind of wrap it all up now. Anyone like want to say goodbye?
Oh, goodbye.
I think overall though, I think it was a pretty good experience for a mode fight, despite like some negatives. I think it was overall a lot of people had a lot of fun, and I think we had a lot of fun too. Sitting in a team chat, but overall I think it was a fun experience, and I hope they do it again. And I think all of us would agree, right? So thumbs up, if you agree. And
I think it's very important though. Like we were sometimes doom and gloomy in this talk, but overall, like it's like 90% positive and like 10%.
Amata waka takahuga.
Okay.
And also another point as well, like for players, we need players as well to like let Bushiroad know how things are as well, like to give some feedback and things. Like please fill out the surveys and let them know the good things you didn't feel were as good as you'd hoped. Constructive criticism, especially being the first event like that they've ever done in this manner. So any feedback is good feedback for them to sort of see how the players feel about things. So please tell them exactly how you feel and some constructive criticism, because it's all just to help the experience of the tournament formats coming ahead.
I just have one last message. So in the end, we all love this event. We think it's an amazing idea and opportunity, and we want it to happen again. And the reason why we give so much feedback is because we want this to be successful, and we want people to play it. We want to play with even more players, and have more schedules. So let's support them. Let's give them the feedback, and let's give Bushiroad the pat on the back and the thank you that they really deserve.
Cool. So just to add a plus onto that, Bushiroad, if you are watching this video, anyone from Bushiroad watching this video, make sure in the next tournament season you make something like this again. The one next after that, and then the one after that as well, and then the one after that one as well. Give the opportunities for everyone to be able to play remote fight. It is successful from the last 2 weekends. The next one for Buddy Fight will be as well. And thumbs up. Make sure it happens.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't signed up for Buddy Fight and you want to, it's like the last one. I think I said it quite a few times, but sign up. I think sign-ups are still open, so go for it and have some fun with Buddy Fight. Otherwise, I think that wraps up all of the BSFO for Vanguard. And yeah, thanks for watching. Right, we'll catch you guys
Thanks for
later.
listening, everybody. It's great.